Hey, how's it going, everybody? We have another episode of Ask Coach Andrew from one of our friends on the internet. He sent me a question and told me that he's in his early 30s, but he feels like his life is beginning to dry up. His words. He feels like the creativity, the enjoyment, the optimism is starting to leave. It's starting to go away. And he feels like he's in a place where he's not very happy with his career. He's not very happy with himself. He didn't give me any specifics on his relationships or his family or anything, but he told me that he's just struggling with depression. He's struggling with a kind of existential nihilism. And he's been thinking a lot about death, actually. And he wants to know how he should feel about this time in his life, right? He's wondering if this is a midlife crisis or if it's just depression. He wants to know what I think about what he's going through right now. And so I'm going to share a very select piece of information, a very select story with you to hopefully help you reframe the way that you're thinking about this. Because from what I hear by reading your email, it sounds to me like you are entering that middle stage of life. And if you read Carl Jung, he talks about the different stages of life. And based on Jung's philosophy, I would say you are probably beginning your midlife crisis. That's what it sounds like to me. And most people typically, according to Jung, have their midlife crisis somewhere around 35 to 45. But other people can have it earlier. Some people have it later. And some people never have it, right? For good reasons and for bad reasons. These things are nuanced, right? And general psychological concepts do not always apply to everyone. They're not always helpful to everyone. But I want to share this with you because I think it could help you. So there are different stages to life, right? And the first stage is when you're an infant, when you're a child, right? You haven't quite developed your ego yet. And you see this when you look at kids who are like under 2 years old, right? Because they're running around, they're completely unaware of the world around them, and they're completely unaware of themselves. They trip over things, they don't answer when you call to them. It's a fascinating thing. If you haven't had kids, first of all, only have them when you're ready and you have a partner. Second of all, don't have them if you don't want them. But watching children grow up, you will really experience something special because you are watching something that starts out completely unconscious as it evolves into a fully conscious human being. It's absolutely fascinating. My oldest daughter's going to be 3 pretty soon, and she is at the stage where she has an ego now. She knows who Aurora is, and she knows who everyone else is, and it's so interesting watching that concept develop. And it continues to develop through life into the second stage, right, which is adolescence. And in the adolescence stage, we have just about fully integrated our ego, right? We have a very clear, when we're teenagers, we think it's clear. It never is when you're a teenager. I'm sorry if you are. But when you're a teenager, you think you really know who you are. You think that you understand the world, you understand the place you're living in, you understand time, you understand life, you understand yourself, you know who you're going to be, you think you know your limits, you don't, especially if you're a teenager. That is the integration of the ego, right? Adolescence. And it is the transition between adolescence and mid-late life. That's where the midlife crisis occurs. Because at some point in the middle of your life, typically your 30s or your 40s, your ego begins to clash with the world that you're living in. It begins to clash with the physical reality of the universe. Most of us in our late 20s, like myself, will experience a moment where we come face to face with our mortality, right? Now, I can't tell you if I've had my midlife crisis yet. I can't tell you if I'm going to have one. I think I already had it. But I can tell you that when I was very young, I was, I think 13 or 14 years old, I had appendicitis. And most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. Had to go to the hospital, have emergency surgery, and they pulled that organ out of me, and it was a whole affair. And that really stuck with me. It was a very, very profound moment in my adolescence because I came face to face with the fact that I can die. And when you're that young, you typically don't think about it. And so I think that because that happened to me when I was so young, I moved through adolescence at a faster pace than most people, because most people don't have a life-threatening situation like that. And then in my late 20s, I hurt my back a bunch of times, right? I am getting old. I have kids now. I'm a father. And I am at that stage in life where my adolescent ego doesn't quite fit into place with the reality of the world. And that might be where you are right now, my friend. You might be in a place where the ego, based off of all 30 years of your life, all of those experiences, those beliefs, the socialization, the education, everything that you have that you think makes up you and your ego is now clashing with the truths, the continual uncovering of truths that you're experiencing as you become an older adult, right? And once you hit that hill, about 45 years old, 50, from that moment on, you're going down, right? From that moment on, you are no longer moving towards the apex of your life. Your prime is behind you, and you're moving towards death. You are moving towards the grave. All of these things kind of come together at this point in people's lives. They begin to realize they're not young. They begin to realize they have a limited amount of time here. And they also begin to realize what Carl Jung called the unlived life. And if you have regrets, this is where they come out, and this is where they really hurt. Because you don't have much time left. Now you do, right? You probably have 40, 50, maybe 60 more years left. You've got plenty of time. But your ego just realized you're not young. And that could be what's happening to you, right? If you feel like this is a midlife crisis, this is a time for you to go inward. It is a time for you to explore how you feel about death. It is a time for you to explore your identity. The things that make you angry, the things that make you happy, are either of them really worth it? How much do they actually mean to you? Your politics, your religion, your spirituality, your beliefs about the world, your beliefs about yourself. All of these things, do they make sense to you? This might be a time for you to accept a little bit of depression. It might be time for you to accept a downturn in your energy. It could be a time to go inward and reevaluate the choices you've made. Reevaluate the goals you have. Because the midlife crisis is really just your ego, right? The way that you identify yourself, the thing that you think you are, but you really aren't. It's not 100% of you. That thing, it's just getting freaked out because life is continuing to change. And maybe it hasn't changed with it. Maybe it has failed to adapt. There is something to be said about aging gracefully, accepting the fact that you're getting old, accepting new limitations with grace, and having faith that you can continue to do meaningful things and find fulfillment until the day that you die. And all of us have to come to terms with that. All of us have to come to terms with that in our own way. So I would encourage you to spend some time really thinking about how you identify yourself, and how that picture of your identity fits in with the reality that you are now living. Because your life is changing. And you still have plenty of years ahead of you. So pick your goals wisely. Think very carefully about how you're going to spend the next decade. And make sure that you're doing things that are meaningful to you. Because all of us, our time is limited. So I hope that was helpful, friend. I hope you're able to take what I just said and apply it meaningfully. Apply it meaningfully. And have faith that you have the answer inside. Because if you look for it, you will find things that you didn't know were there. So, good luck. We will talk soon, everyone.